This meeting and all other meetings of this council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Roll call.
Appleby?
Here.
Brunner?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
It's on the phone. Gunderson is not present. Rasmussen?
Here?
And Nadowski.
Here.
Okay.
The next item is discussion and possible action on the TID number 3 closure and the audit services agreement. I take it those all go together?
Yes.
Okay.
We passed, I believe it was back in January, you passed resolution to start the process to close tax increment district number 3. Sorry, got a little bit of a cold here today too, so it'll probably be quick tonight, but as part of the closure for TID number 3, the state requires that you have an audit completed to make sure that all the debt that you had outstanding is paid off and that everything's in order with the books. With that, they give you 6 months from the date that you pass that closure resolution, which would get us to about July 28th. Right now, our auditors are working on our fiscal year 2014 audit. When they're done with that within the next week or two, their next plan then would be to do the audit on the TIF or the TID district closeout. So what we would need is approval from you guys. Their costs with Clifton Larson Allen, our auditors, they've quoted an amount not to exceed $4,500 for these audit services. So the recommendation would be to approve the audit services agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit services agreement with the company that you listed out there.
Yep, Clifton Larson Allen. Yep.
I'll second that.
Not to exceed $4,500?
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's about
So
Similar
we
price.
need a motion to approve audit services?
Yes, yeah, there's a motion from Nadowski and a second by Appleby.
Okay.
Okay?
and what is that about the same as it has been? Similar price?
Yeah, we haven't had to do this in quite a while.
Oh,
But yeah, this is, when they looked at what's all out there, they already do an audit year to year on these TIF districts. The big thing here is just running through and making sure everything's closed out. So yeah, it's in line. Our annual audit is about a little over $20,000 when we have them do that work. So this is reasonable. The key there is that it's a not to exceed, so that
It could be
if
less.
it's less effort, it could be less. Yep.
okay.
Okay. So you have a motion and a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 3, discussion and possible action on Canadian National Rail release of interest on the wastewater treatment plant property.
Yes, this is coming to you. It's been the result of probably a year and a half worth of work on our end. Back in 2013, when we had originally bid out the treatment plant upgrade, we surveyed the property out there and we came across where the rail loops through the city's property. It goes through probably 2/3 of the property, and then there's an open area, which is where we're looking at building out the treatment plant. When we looked in there, there's still historical records that show that that's not the city's property, that it's actually part of an old rail spur that used to go to what's now the Taylor Cheese Building. There used to be rail all the way up there. With this, we had done a couple title searches. AgriPeer and their contractor, they did some title searches. We couldn't find the document that laid out that basically who had owned it. And what we found was at some point within the last 40 to 60 years, it had probably belonged to Presto Products. But because the railroad had been utilizing that piece, they actually had taken it over by adverse possession. And when that happens, there aren't any documents that come out and say, from this point it is Presto or the city's property, and from this point on it's now the railroad. So what we found was the railroad has an interest in an area where there is no longer any rail spur. And the area we're looking at acquiring, or the area we hoped we had that we're looking at getting, the rights to. It's roughly 0.3 acres. And the railroad has said they won't per se sell us the land, but what they would do is they would charge a release fee of $2,500. So for $2,500, they would relinquish any interest they've got in that area. And then they would essentially turn it over to the city, and then we would be good to go to run our treatment plant upgrade. And right now, we've got the bids. That project is out for bid. Next week, next Tuesday is when we'll open the bids there. So the reason why we tried to get it pushed through first was, instead of going through the regular committees later this month, we wanted to make sure that we close out this transaction so that we get the land. And there'll be probably a week or two before we end up, closing out all the everything with the railroad. But we just don't want to have the treatment plant project get delayed because we don't yet own or have that property. So in working with Attorney Kelney, once we brought him on board, probably 2-3 months ago, in earnest, that's when the railroad was really more responsive. For the last year and a half, it's been hit and miss. And I mean, I think the big thing was we were looking for documents that didn't exist at all. So it wasn't that nobody was letting it sit, it just trying to find something that wasn't going to be found.
But the railroad has documents. No.
They've got an old engineering drawing from 1940 that shows, it looks like it's a yellowed piece of paper with like a hand-drawn spur. And it says that it services Presto, which is true because now that's the spur where Presto comes in and then they back into their property. And at some point a bunch of the rail had been removed because on that drawing it was, again, the spur all the way down basically to Mill Street is what they showed. And then if you get down in that area by Taylor Cheese, now it's all gravel through there. There's some rail, but it's not in service at all.
What does the county record show, Pastor?
The only thing the county had on file was there's any piece of rail through the city, and that includes the main line and the spurs, that are all assigned one parcel number. And the only document that's on file with the county is a description of the main line from Superior down to like Chicago. And it basically just said Wisconsin Central has a main line. It was very, very vague. And it wasn't really specific to Weyauwega at all. It was just one. It looks like a document that's probably on file everywhere through the state. So really what we're doing is the only hang up is, the railroad's got some kind of hold on it, and they said they were willing to release that. And that's where the terminology comes in, that as opposed to acquiring the land, they're just releasing their interest on just enough for us to build out the treatment plant.
So then it would officially be city-owned property then after that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we'd be looking for is approval on the $2,500 release fee.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the $2,500 release fee for purchase of the spur area for the water treatment project.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Joanna, did you hear that?
Yeah, she.
You still there yet?
Yeah, I can't hear what anybody's saying.
Oh, okay.
I made a motion for the approval of the $2,500, and it was seconded, and we just voted all ayes, and we were waiting for your aye or nay.
Yes, aye, yes,
Okay.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Get a call. We're good.
And this is
Okay.
It's a city hall project.
All right, moving on then to item number 4, discussion and possible action on claim for refund of unlawful taxes on 111 East Sumner because of a house fire.
Yes, that sounds pretty strong there. But basically, that's the language that's set out in state law. This is for Cindy Garnett's home. She had I think it was November of 2013, the home had burned. She started to rebuild in February of 2014, and the tax bills that just went out last November, they're based off of the value of the property as of January 1st. She didn't have any adjustment at all for basically the total loss of the home to fire. And as a result, her tax bill came out regularly like it normally would. It was based off of, I think, $78,000 of value. And so when her tax bill came, she said, well, I'm paying taxes on a home that really didn't exist at the time. We found a little bit out about how that gets modified, and usually it's the building permit that triggers our assessors in a regular maintenance year, not a revaluation year. And because the permitting and the building didn't go up until February, there wasn't a lot to trigger that there. In state law, it basically lays out a process, and what this would be called is unlawful taxes on an amount that really didn't exist at all. This was something that was recommended by our assessors, and there's a form that's laid out in state law, which I put that section, I think is it 74.35 in Wisconsin statutes. Basically, it just says, here's the form. You have to have some type of a form to claim that you have unlawful taxes, lay out the specific dates and the values. Now, in the sheet that she had submitted, those are the actual values that our assessor had given her, and our assessor said, this is your valuation for your, basically burned out home. And where her assessed value would have been, I believe it was $78,000. Basically, what our assessor said is that there should have been a credit of $53,200 in value. And so with this, she filed by January 28th. The city council then gets to review this claim within 90 days. And you can either accept or deny the claim. In this case, it makes sense that, she had the burned out home, she wasn't able to live in it. And again, she's got the support of our assessors to say, here's what your value should have been. So it makes sense to approve a refund for unlawful taxes. The refund then would end up being about $1,100. It's $1,143.46. The city's share of that is about $434, and then we would collect from the state, the county, the schools later on, the share that was paid in error. And then when the board of review comes up this spring, our assessor is already going to adjust her valuation from last year.
Okay,
And then
so-
she'll have a regular home back on, so her property tax value will go back up because now she's got a home on there again. So the recommendation would be to approve the refund of unlawful taxes.
I'll make the motion to approve the refund of the unlawful tax.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Johanna, you're an aye?
So, yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, aye.
No problem. For such other matters, I don't have any other matters.
Anything else?
No.
No?
We don't have anything on the property yet, we're still waiting on that.
Yeah. We are waiting on we sent an offer out and we talked to them on Friday. They still had it, they had one question
Oh.
about parcel lines and then,
Splitting hairs stuff,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah, but they did tell us on Friday that they would sign it and send it back, so.
good.
Okay. Well, if there's
Okay.
nothing else, I'll call this meeting to adjournment.
I entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 What time do we have?
6:16.
Okay.
16.